Hello, and welcome to Toastmasters in the Community. I'm your host, Fran Okeson. With me today, I have past District Governor of District 83, Cindy Wilson. How are you, Cindy?
Fine, Fran. How are you doing?
Very, very, very well. I have a piece of paper here, and if I can't locate it right now, I'm going to talk about it in a few minutes. I did print something up, and we'll let that go. All right, so we're going to get started. Very small crew, and when I woke up this morning to the rain, I figured you fellas from the Jersey side of our district may say we're staying home, and luckily you came in right after we did. So,
right after. And you said you're early. I said, but you said be here at 9:30.
I know, and
so
thank you.
I was there at 9:29.
Oh, you noticed that? Oh, I wasn't paying that close attention. But Cindy, why don't you open the show? One of our members, Linda Isaacs, told me a few months ago that I shouldn't introduce myself as a speaker. That didn't look right. So we've been trying it this way, and I've been stumbling over it because for 14 years I've been doing it that way, but she made more sense. So would you please tell the folks in our viewing audience what I am doing on the show?
I'd like to introduce to you Fran Okeson, who I call the matriarch of District 83. She will be doing speech number 6 in the basic CC manual, which is vocal variety. Her time is 7 minutes, and her evaluator will be Lucy Kahn, who's also a distinguished Toastmaster twice over. Fran's title is Thank You, Cousin Bill. So please, let's welcome Fran.
Thank you very much, Cindy. Thank you very much. Nice to have you up here again. And I told somebody who may come for the second meeting today, this afternoon, that you usually come dressed in your African attire, which is so beautiful, but you came in regular clothes.
Well, that's because I'm going to be reporting on something, so wearing the costume didn't seem to be appropriate at this time.
All right. Well, we'll get you, because you do those readings beautifully. Talk to Jane. She's got a speech to do on reading out loud, so she might, maybe I can find the tape of when you did it. You can let me know what tape number on the envelope,
Yes.
and I'll make a copy for her, and then she can watch one or two of your readings.
Okay.
Okay? That's the only speech I have left in one of my manuals, same one she's working on, and I haven't gotten a part of it. All right, so what we're going to talk about, my title is Thank You, Cousin Bill. Now, most people know that I usually carry a camera with me wherever I go, but it's not that important anymore because everybody I know has one of these new smartphones that has cameras and life support systems and everything else in them. I don't have those things. And when I need a picture, there's always someone who's ready to take the picture for me. And there's always Peter who carries his phone, camera, medical kit, and whatever he has in there. I am not technical. I am technologically impaired. But there was a day when I knew what was going on, but everything is changing. And sometimes I just wonder, can I make it? But you're one of the ambassadors for the New Pathways learning experience, and you say, I will get into it. And I finished one goal that I was doing, and I have no more excuses except to press a button and hope it leads me to the right direction. But we have a young man coming on today who is doing his first icebreaker speech in the New Pathways program. So I will go home, and when Peter makes copies, I will study his performance, and I'm sure that will help. Anyhow, so let me tell you about Cousin Bill. Cousin Bill was in World War II many years ago, and he was an avid photographer. He was my cousin Jane's husband and a very, very nice man. Where he was in the service, he used to send home rolls of film, and we stored them in the cellar in my house in Flushing. There was sort of like a tool rack with little cubby holes, and when the films came home, Jane would log them, and then she'd put them in the little slots. It was like a mail slot thing. And when he did come home, that's when my love for photography and cameras took root, because he allowed me to come down into his dark room and watch him develop and slosh those pictures into the 3 tubs. For my 12th birthday, he gave me my first camera, a Brownie Hawkeye camera. I still have it. It's in the house. Peter has me cleaning out everything from my date of birth to my year now, and that camera is in the house. I have trouble throwing things out. They're heirlooms. Peter says, fine, you know where you can put them. So anyhow, what happened was, when I grew up and left Mary Lewis Academy, I went to Hunter College in the city. Now we had core classes we had to take, then there were electives. And the moment I saw photography, I signed up to take photography. That was another whole new world. I got there the last year that they developed the films by sloshing into the 3 tubs of whatever the fluids were. When I when I got out of that class, I took 2 periods of it. Then they got those little containers, and you put your roll of film or something in there, and everything happened in the container. It took the fun out of sloshing everything around. But I have cats. I used to have dogs, and I'm very glad I went into cats, and I would advise anyone who's getting near the age of retirement, if you're looking for a pet, I would advise you to make love with a cat, because you don't have to walk them outside when you can't walk outside, and a litter box is so much better than walking dogs on a leash, and cats will not walk on a leash. But I'm going to ask Peter to go along with me and show some of our cats. And this is, I'd like to tell people, sometimes what I do, I get a cover for my speech. Like now I'm going to show you our cats. But then I make individual speeches at my other meetings to tell you how we found them, how they found us, how we lived with them, how they lived with us. And they all become individual speeches, all about my different cats. So Peter, if we'll start the ball rolling. First cat that we had in the house, you said that there was a cat, Cindy, that made friends with us, but she never stayed. But can you pull up Samantha's picture, please? Samantha is a jet black cat. And my friend Julie Prowski, whose mother is still a member, well, was a member, passed away a few years ago, in our Women's Club of Tottenville. Julie's still a member, as are some people in this room. But Julie said, gee, she looks like a little witch cat. Why don't you name her Samantha? So she was Samantha. Well, what happened to Samantha, being a very attractive little black girl, she had 2 babies. One died outside, the other one lived for a nice long time. And would you please show her son Chappie? Now Chappie, if you look very closely at Chappie, look at his nose. When Julie came over to see him, she lived a couple of blocks away from me at that time in Tottenville, she noticed that he had a black smudge under his nose. And she said, oh, Fran, you have to call him Charlie Chaplin, you just have to. So I didn't want to call him Charlie, so I called him Chappie, and that was Chappie. And Chappie was a darling. He did everything right. He was just a beautiful, comfortable cat, beautiful cat. All right. Then one day we noticed another cat. He was outside. In fact, his mother used to sit over by the garage door, and she had this baby, and I used to read out in the backyard. And she would walk halfway across our basketball court, and he would come the rest of the way, and I'd pick him up. And if you put Tiger's picture there, Tiger became part of our family. His mother didn't want any part of coming into the house, but Tiger, we lost Tiger just a couple of weeks ago. He was very, very sick with cat cancer, and we're still reeling from that. Just terrible, but that's our Tiger boy, a loving cat. And he's got beautiful, beautiful eyes. Now, we had another situation where I guess it was the same mama, had a different daddy, and we noticed that there was a cat, very dark, black and gray, and he was up eating food off the dish that we put out for the stray cats. 4 or 5 families on my block put a little bit out. But we took in rye, and we did that because Tiger was eating out of the bowl of food, and I was throwing bread out for the birds, and I had rye bread out there. And he went over and he was eating the rye bread, so we named him Rye. Very original. And Rye was a good friend. Now the next picture is my little Annie and Pip, who is also still with us. But Annie passed away on December 5th. Peter found her dead on the sunroom floor. She died in her sleep, I guess, but she's on the left. And that little girl, 10 years old, and she hardly ever got out of my arms. Beautiful. Pippa is still looking for Tiger, and he can't figure out where Tiger is, so he's around the house moaning all the time, looking all over for Tiger. Here is Pip, very quick picture of Pip by himself when he was a baby. And of course, Timmy, this is Timmy, well, have the picture up there. That's Timmy. Peter caught him sleeping on the couch, and he said, where's your camera? And I gave him the camera, and he caught, I think, one of the cutest pictures of Timmy. So that's what I like to do. Get a theme and develop each into a separate speech at one of the club meetings. This way, you don't have to think too much about it, because all you have to do is remember and say a little prayer that they're all in Pussycat Heaven, and we'll see them again someday. So and that's my speech about my cat family.
That's wonderful.
Animals are fun. Do you have any animals?
Yes, I do. I also have cats.
How many?
Right now, 2. I usually keep about 3, but when my last cat died, we didn't get a replacement, so I have Her name is Samantha also.
Is she black?
Oh, no, actually, we just like the name Sam.
Oh,
and then
we
we
used to
also,
call her that for a nickname, yeah.
and we have Rainey. And
Rainey?
Yeah, I used to work at a chemical process plant.
Oh.
And one of the things that we used was called Rainey nickel, was a catalyst.
Oh, we can talk about that in one of your speeches.
Another day, yes.
Another
But
day.
that was what we named the cat.
Well, that's fun. Fun to know how people name things. All right. So, Cindy, you're our second speaker. How about that? You know, I set these up so, like, next week I'll be working on the next show. All right. So I want to ask you, what's PMP?
It's Project Management Professional. That is a professional certification I have because I am a project manager.
But is that a Toastmasters designation?
No, that's not. It's from the National Institute of Project Management.
Then why do we use that in our Toastmasters introductions?
Because I always use it as part of my name.
Then I will use it when you're on. Okay. You're also a DTM4,
Yes.
and you're past district governor of this district. Okay. And you're doing speech number 5, from speeches to inform the abstract concept. And you have, so I gave everybody 7 minutes this time, make it easier, because I knew we were losing people who were awake for the holidays. And our evaluator, your evaluator is Jane Costaiola. I hope I'm doing that right. I practice that name all the time. And, oh, yes, your title. Did you know Dr. Seuss? I really didn't. I was a little bit too old for him when he came out, but maybe I'll learn something from you. So let's all welcome Cindy Wilson.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, Theodore Geisel Seuss, which is what you would say, is a wonderful author. We know of him because of all the children's books that he's written over all of these years. Well, Dr. Seuss, as we call him now, was born in Springfield, Massachusetts in 1904, and he died in September of 1991 in La Jolla, California. He was a third-generation American of his family who emigrated from Germany. Both of his grandparents came over and put together a brewery. And with their friend, Mickelman, they put together this brewery called Kalmbach and Geisel. But in order for everyone to remember the name of the brewery, they changed it to a nickname, Come Back and Guzzle. So everyone knew where they could find the brewery. Now, when Prohibition was passed, the brewery could not exist anymore. So it came off, it died in 1920. So as I said, we know him as a writer of children's books because we've seen a number of the books that he has done. This is a collection of Dr. Seuss's books, which also includes the first book he wrote, which was about a thing that he heard as he was standing on the ship with his wife. He was mumbling under his breath to the cadence of the engine, of the steam engine, and his wife was like, come on, write it down somewhere so I could stop hearing you mumble. And it was the book called And to Think I Saw It on Mulberry Street, which was first published in 1937. And he was such a prolific author that he just continued to write these books. He loved pentameter, and he liked to rhyme with things, and it made it very easy for people to remember what the book was about. The interesting thing is that Dr. Seuss also wrote some adult books, and I have been using one of them as part of my speeches. Like, this was the first adult book that he wrote, and this was published in 1939. In it was talking about Lady Godiva. If you remember the 11th century story on Coventry about the naked blonde lady who decided to ride a horse through town, and some guy named Tom just had to make sure he got a peep of it, Dr. Seuss took that story and expanded on it to make the ladies 7 ladies. You had 7 naked ladies who each owned a horse, and Peeping Tom was really the name of the family. It was the brothers Peeping, and the name Peeping was always put first because that was how they pronounced with their last names. So as we went through the story, and some of you have seen these that I've done, that we talked about each lady trying to find what they call her horse truth. And it would be delivering a line that our parents had said over the years, such as, you don't change horses in midstream. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Don't put the horse before the cart. Those types of things that we've heard, and I've delivered these punchlines many a time, and to the laughter, the moans, the groans, and the head slaps of people in the audience. They just thought it was just too funny. And of course, I would wear a costume of some sort while I told the story. So I did not know if the focus was on the costume or the focus was on the story. But in any case, there was a lot of fun as we did it. Dr. Seuss also got involved with the war effort. So he also wrote various political cartoons and stories on the war. This one here is an example of one of the two things that Dr. Seuss had done. And this one is filled with a myriad of wonderful cartoons and talked about the progress as we went through the World War. Dr. Seuss was very, very passionate about opposing Hitler, Mussolini, and the Japanese, not just Emperor Hirohito, but everyone who was Japanese. And some of the cartoons reflect that. But the opposite thing that I thought interesting about it was that Dr. Seuss was very passionate about the mistreatments of blacks and Jews during that time period in the United States. So throughout the stories and the things that he has done, we see different parts of Dr. Seuss. We look at him as a person who made reading interesting. I remember the books of Dick and Jane, and I always could remember Run, Spot, Run. But what Dr. Seuss did is he took simple words and turned them into rhymes and into timing, and it made children have fun reading it. Dr. Seuss had been challenged by one of his friends to come up with a book that kids would read because they weren't learning reading because they said they were bored. And he took 253 words. And with those 253 words, he wrote about 5 books so children would remember. And some of us remember, you know, especially The Cat in the Hat, which became a very, very popular book, to the point that many societies have on his birthday a reading fundamentals, and they all wear the red and white hat that the Cat in the Hat had worn. So Dr. Seuss also wrote a second book, and it was called You're Old Only Once. And it was a book that was written for, as he called them, the obsolete children, which were adults. The book centered on what it was like to be an older person and to provide encouragement to those who were there. He also wrote, and one of us likes this, is that, Oh, the Places You'll Go. Although it was for kids, he wrote the book that was also of interest to us adults, because during the times we were retiring, we were also given that book because it was inspirational enough for us to continue. So with all those things, he was a film producer, he wrote books, he even won an Academy Award for a documentary that he put together for the U.S. government. So although we called him Dr. Seuss, his degree was not one that he had earned as a doctor of philosophy. It was granted to him by Dartmouth College, because first he graduated from there. Second, he did try to go to Oxford, but definitely it wasn't for him. And third, Dartmouth decided that they wanted to capitalize on his popularity since he was one of their graduates. So I'm hoping that everybody had enjoyed this little talk about Dr. Seuss, because you just never know what a person's background is until you get to know him. Popular, yes, for children, but also very poignant for adults.
We're children at heart.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Cindy. Very, very nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next time, I hope you'll wear one of your costumes.
Yes, I probably will.
You know, they are original costumes, aren't they? Because every time I touch the brocade and everything on it, they're beautiful.
Yes, they were handmade by a seamstress.
That will be part of your speech.
Yes, yes, ma'am, I'll count.
I may have to put you on both shows when you do that. The first one, you come on, talk about the costume. The second one, then you
Tell
do
a
your
story.
reading,
Okay.
whatever. Okay,
All
just keep it in mind.
Yes, I will.
All right, because there are days when we can have extra people. All right, our third speaker, very special to us, is a relatively new member of our No Limits Toastmasters Club. He also is starting his Pathways Learning Experience first speech today, and I'm very interested, John. I'm going to take this DVD home and I'm going to practice. I'm going to look at what you're doing with Sue's advice, and I'm looking forward to this. You're a very nice young gentleman, and I'm glad you joined us. Anyhow, John, you're doing number 1, Pathways, the Icebreaker, 7 minutes. Sue Brooks is not only your evaluator, but your mentor, I guess, at this point, and that would be good. Now, your title, Sue didn't like it, but you said it doesn't look like it sounds. So I'm going to say how shocked I was when it says, go yourself. And I only know of one. Anyway, John, I'd like you to convince everybody that this is nothing that we're going to be ashamed of. Welcome, John Culcinari.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Thank you, studio audience and viewers at home. I assure you, I will reveal that title by the end, and it's perfectly appropriate. So my name is John Culcinari, and I'm here today to tell you about myself. As I crafted this speech, I necessarily reflected on what it means to be me, and indeed, what it means to be. And I started with the end in mind. What do I want you to come away with understanding about who I am? And I considered crafting you some funny or tragic story to inspire you towards happiness or sadness that might impart some truth about myself. But I'm not going to do that. I could tell you stories about things that are important to me, relationships that I have, professional or personal achievements, various other things that I could use to define who I think I am. And we'll get there. But first, I'd like to talk to you about passion. Some people, I think, seem to be born with this overarching passion that drives their life and gives their life meaning. That was never me. I spent several decades searching for my passion. I found many hobbies and interests that I was good at and that I enjoyed, far more than I could ever pursue in one lifetime. And I found a few things that I wasn't so good at. But one thing through it all that I noticed was true about myself was that I'm a nerd. Or as I sometimes like to put it, I have an appreciation for the pursuit of understanding. Sometimes this is intellectual understanding, sometimes spiritual understanding, and even physical understanding. So, one afternoon, while I was pursuing some intellectual understanding, swinging in my hammock on a bright sunny day, I had the book The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. And this paragraph caught my attention. And these words couldn't have caught my attention any more if they had come to life, jumped off the page, grabbed me by the shirt collar, and smacked me across the face. And I'll paraphrase them for you here. What they said was this: you don't find your passion, you get to create it. And I've reflected back on this many times since that day, and I feel like it's one of those moments in my life that really stands out. It's been since then that I've been pursuing the creation of who I am on a daily basis. And that's part of what has led me, almost inexorably, here today. So I'm here before you as a student of life, as a master of education, as a teacher of young minds, as a cyclist, a hiker, a camper, a backpacker, but also as a son and a brother and a husband, and sometimes I think most importantly, as a father. I'd like to share a little story about my experience as a father. Quite recently, it was just this past week, I took my daughter for her first walk to and through the grocery store. It seems like such a mundane event, going to the grocery store. I just needed to pick up ketchup and some bread. But I think for both of us, this mundane event became something special. Because it was something that we shared together to create our relationship with one another. It was just her and me and our surroundings as we played with sticks, poked some trees, and apparently were taking their temperature, I think. She was saying that they were hot. I think it was absolutely adorable, and I enjoyed it immensely, and judging by the laughter and the giggles, I could tell that she enjoyed it immensely as well. So, struggling to recall where I go next. I had set up each part of my speech as a visual, and I associated each visual with a clock face, and the next part of my speech is a magnifying glass at 10 o'clock. But somehow it escapes me right now what that magnifying glass represented for the next part of my speech.
John,
So-
just interrupt for a second. Maybe next time you bring a photograph of your daughter, send it to me, and Peter will put it up on the screen for you. Then
Thank you,
you'll
Fran.
remember that part
I-
of your speech.
I had tried to get a photograph for each of the parts that I had mentioned, the student, the cyclist, and so on, but I couldn't find one for everything, so I didn't want to do
One
just
nice
a couple.
picture.
But one would have been a good idea, thank you.
Just send it to us early enough, and Peter will put it up for you. And then you can finish your speech. Then Sue will help you get from one speech to the other.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, as I leave you, let me give you some advice that I've learned as I go through life. It's go create yourself. Thank you. Thank you, Madam
Thank you
Toastmaster.
very, very much. I felt I had to step in. I let him hang long enough. Very nice, John. I can't wait to see what his daughter looks like. A little
yeah,
two-year-old.
sounds like a real charmer.
Yeah. Oh, well. Anyway, he's got a good soul. Yeah. I was so surprised when he gave me his name, and I said, and then he said, my mother was in Toastmasters,
Oh,
and Dorothy Colt. First one in 30 years as a Toastmaster. Knocked on my back door and said, is this where I sign up for Toastmasters?
Wow.
That never happened in 30 years. Nobody ever came to the house to sign up. But I keep looking. No, they don't come. Hello, Lucy.
Hi.
I want to thank you again for filing all my documents for my laytest DTM. That means
Congratulations.
that, well, that just means that now I have no more excuses not to
20th.
go into the Pathways program. Now, it's her fault. She filed my last DTM. Now she's going to be up to me.
20th DTM.
Well,
here.
well, thank you for doing that. I figured as long as I hadn't finished that goal, I was safe. But now I have to
No,
get
you
into
have-
that.
You
I
finished
have
it,
to.
now you have to move on.
I do have to move on. Anyway, all right, Lucy Kahn. Okay, you're doing number 5 in the Storytelling Advanced Manual. Okay, bringing history to life. And as I said, everyone has 7 minutes. Oh, John Coltrinari is your evaluator. And we discussed your title, and we decided that this is the better of the two, the meaning of Christmas. So let's all welcome Lucy Kahn. And I want to thank you so much for letting your husband be our photographer and our cameraman all these years. We do appreciate it.
Thank
Only I
you.
think once or twice he stood up there, and he wasn't comfortable. So he said, no way. But and he also makes the brownies every month.
Oh, yes,
That's
those
the important thing.
delicious, yeah.
All right, let's all welcome
To
Lucy
die
Kahn.
for.
Thank you, Lucy.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and viewing audience, and especially Fran. Today I'm going to tell you about Christmas. How many of you likes to hear the word Christmas? For many of us around the world, we celebrate Christmas as a joyous holiday. All of us are looking forward for our gift sharing, visiting our friends and relatives, and eating some delicious food. For me, before Christmas, I'm already getting invited from all my relatives and my friends to come to their house and enjoy their nice food, because they said that by the time Christmas comes, they might not see me. So I'll be eating all the different kinds of food, and all my relatives coming, and reunions and other stuff that they gave us. By the time Christmas comes, I'll be gaining weight. So Sometimes I said that I probably have to go on diet after Christmas. Children cannot wait for their gifts and everything, and they do want to see Santa Claus. Some children still believe in Santa Claus, but most of them one doesn't believe in Santa Claus. They think that Santa Claus is their parents, it's either their father or their mother. So whatever they want to get for Christmas, they have a list of things that they like to have. And they will give it to their father, and they will say, Father, tell Santa Claus that I want all these gifts. And all they want are electronics things. They are very expensive. And the father will say, well, Santa Claus cannot afford this gift. So the kid said, well, why don't you tell Santa Claus that to earn more money? So then, if the father said that he cannot ask Santa Claus about all the gifts they want, then they go to the mother. They ask the mother if they can get Santa Claus to get all the gifts they like. So it's just like something that most of us are always telling them that Santa Claus cannot really give them all the gifts they want. But then right now, children are very spoiled. We spend so much time planning our Christmas celebration. Some of us are planning for a year. What do we wear? What kind of food we want to give to our friends? Where are we going to see them? Can we go there? Can we get a plane? How much would the plane ticket be if we want to visit our friends somewhere else? Can we take the cruise with them for Christmas celebration? Can we take the taxi? Can we take a bus? Can we take a train? Can we get Uber, which is very not expensive, or the taxi, or just walk across the street to see our relatives and friends? And sometimes we want to tell them that we can also save money by calling them up and do Facebook. That's electronic social media. We plan for so many things. We spend so much time in the stores buying things that we think we need, but actually we don't need them. Sometimes we buy those things because they are on sale. We spend most of our savings and find out that we miss something else. So we don't really need them. Christmas is not just giving gifts, visiting our relatives, families, and friends. Christmas is to commemorate the birth of Jesus Christ in a manger in Bethlehem. And you can see about Jesus Christ being birthed on December 25 in a manger in Bethlehem. It is a miraculous event, and it's the primary meaning of Christmas. And the belief that God came into the world in a form of a man to atone the sins of humanity. And that is really the purpose of celebrating Christmas. Many Catholics come to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ by attending Christmas Mass and then go out to the relatives to eat the festive dinner. They wanted to us that the festive dinner and the Christmas is not only about giving gifts, and also it is about bringing our tradition, bringing our religious tradition, and also making sure that most of us are important, and that most important that we have to do is finding the meaning of Christmas in us. So it's us. We have to make sure they can find everything and make sure that we are spiritually looking for 11 months, what did we accomplish, how did we do, and making sure that we can help other people. Finding our own purpose in life is to love and to enjoy ourselves to give peace that we can and share to the world. So we have to have peace to the world, to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lucy. Very, very nicely done. We were very worried about you and Richard this morning when you didn't get here before Peter and I did. I'm glad you were all right. The rain was coming down pretty heavy when I first got up, and then it subsided a little bit. All right. Hello, Paul.
Hi there, how are you?
Okay. Last month you were sitting here, and when I watched the film on TV, the banner was behind your shoulder for the most part, and I figured, don't you have eyes in your head that you could have seen that that banner was wrong? I had 3 people working on getting it centered today, so it annoyed me. I watched the show 3 or 4 times in this month. The banner is off-centered. Okay. And
The
I don't
banner
have
was
eyes.
okay. I was a little off-centered last month.
I won't even go there, Paul. Go there. Okay. Paul. Now, Paul was the first district governor when this district was claimed. That was 2008. When were you our governor?
I was
2000.
2013.
Oh, so he had a couple of years on
A
you.
couple of years.
Yeah, he was a good governor, though.
Oh, he was. I mean, truly.
Wonderful
that's why we
governor.
called him the grandfather of District 83.
Yeah,
He
he's a
was
good
just
guy.
like a grandfather.
And I'll
He was
tell you-
crotchety, too, but that's okay.
Well,
Right to become distinguished, all the way.
Well, we never forget the first lady of our first district, Sandy Scharf. I'll tell you, I came across her picture the other day, and I started crying. That woman made him the man he is today. Our next speaker is Paul Scharf, past district governor, DTM 6. I'm waiting for that 7 to come aboard the bit. You know. Oh well, you're doing an icebreaker. Oh, that's right. You're starting a new book, new manual. Yeah. Okay. And that's the icebreaker, so we're going to find out who you are. Joan Maurizio has the pleasure of being your evaluator, and your title is Who Am I? So let's all welcome past district governor, first district governor of our district, Paul Scharf.
Thank you very much. Who am I? I am who you see. Of course, right now I'm a little different than I usually am because I now have a little patch on my left eye. Very interesting. I'll tell you a little bit about the patch. Cataracts is supposed to be a very simple procedure. You go in, you get cataracts done, you're done. Well, I went in, I had cataracts done, and one eye got done. And the other eye, I have no idea. Actually, at this point, and apparently for the rest of my life, I've got one eye. Because of that, it's very interesting. In order to make a left turn, I have to make 3 right turns. But I get there. Takes a few more minutes. I have to leave a few minutes early because I know I have to make a lot of right turns to make my left. But otherwise, who am I? I am an individual who has gone through a lot in my life. I've been a small plane crash. I did a lot of flying. I did a lot of work on the ocean or in the ocean. I am an individual who attempts a lot of different things. Probably one of the things I attempt is to try and make left turns without seeing the left side. That's a little rough, but I manage, although I now spend a lot more times making right turns to make a left. I do get there. In fact, I was here early today only because I left last night knowing that I had to spend a little more time on the road to try and find where I was going. Having one eye is very interesting. There's a good to it. It really is. You know, when you go to take a trip and you have to go to the airport and you have to get online to go to the plane, to get in the plane, I always hear, or lately I've been hearing something like, women and children first, and you with the patch over here also. That's great. I've decided to think that for the rest of my life, I might just wear the patch because I end up being first in line. people move aside when I'm walking down the street. They worry about me. Good. Keep worrying about me because it makes me feel a lot better. Instead of me opening up the door to ladies, I now have ladies opening up the door for me. It's wonderful. It's probably one of the greatest things that's happened to me. I am being pampered. I'm being taken care of. It's really nice. And as I said, when you have to go online, it's, women and children first and you with the patch. You can't beat it. You just can't beat it. I walk down the street, a crowded street, usually you have to bump into people. I walk down the street, everybody parts. Here he comes, let him go through. And I go through. It's great. I think I'll wear the patch forever. I really do. Because it makes me be the person that's very important. Instead of, as I said before, instead of me opening up the door for people, they open up the door for me. Walking down the street, instead of banging into people, move aside, here he comes, and they let me go through. It's a nice thing to have the patch. Of course, the negative part is I've only got one eye. Well, I've learned to make a lot of right turns to make my left. But I get there. In fact, I got here. Of course, I left last night, as I said before. But I got here on time. It's an interesting thing to have a problem. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. For the most part, I guess I'd rather have both eyes. But if I have to have this one, that's okay. People take care of me. And as I said, they open the door for me instead of me opening the door for them. They step aside as I walk down the street. I do make a lot of right turns, but I do get to the left eventually. It's an interesting situation. There are good things to it, but for the most part, I really think I'd rather have both eyes so that I don't have to go this way to look to what's over there. Because to look over there, I just turn the head a little bit and I can see that chair. But to see the back wall, I have to go to the back to see the back wall because peripheral vision is now half that it is. Used to be or it is, on the right side, I can see the chair while I'm looking at you. I can see that chair. But on the left side, I can't see Fran, even though she's right over there. I can't see her. Now I can see my left hand. At this point, I've lost the vision or the sight of my left hand. One eye, the good and bad, the good parts, everybody opens the door for me. Everybody steps aside for me. The bad parts, I got to make a whole lot of left turns in order to go left. Interesting situation. It's a lot of fun for a while, but I don't wish it on anybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. I have to tell you something. Our show is only seen on CTV on Staten Island. So if we see a lot of people walking around with a patch on the eye down at the train station, they won't know about this over in where you live in New Jersey. However, we know what started the craze of the patches. It's going to be in the Staten Island Advance. More people are having eye problems. There must be something in the air above Staten Island. It's all your wear a patch and have all these courtesies. Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Oh, boy. Can you just picture that, people all wearing patches just for that, pirates patches?
Yeah, I had cataract surgery also.
I
so
did too, and I got out of it.
I got out. But I did wear a patch for.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I had
had
for a night or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like that. People would
think
get out of the way, open doors.
I think he likes the
etc.
service, to be honest with
Yes.
you.
Well, I can't blame him. All those ladies after him.
But he only has the hearts and the memory of the one.
Yes.
Hello, Lucy. Oh, we're starting it's the evaluation time. How interesting. I figured, gee, she just got up there. All right, Lucy, we're starting the evaluations, and You could tell us all about photography. I know Richard takes our pictures every meeting. I don't know, do you like photography like he
Yes,
does?
I like photography.
Oh, you do? Okay. Well, let's hear about the evaluation, and we'll go on from there. Thank you. Lucy Kahn.
Good morning, fellow Toastmaster, and viewing audience, and guests, and especially Fran. Fran, I like your title. Thank you, Cousin Bill. And I know that he is a photographer. So I really like your topic selection, and your volume is excellent. Your rate, you did excellent, what you call this now? Your rate is varied and everything. Your pitch and sometimes it's not. I think you need your pitch to go all and up and down because it's just like the same pitch. Your pose is good. Expressiveness is very nice, and I can convey the emotion and meaning of all your photographer and everything, and also the organization was great. The word usage is very good. And also your body language, and sometimes it's just because you are sitting down, maybe you can straighten up like that and making sure that you get all your body language there. What did I like about the speech? The most thing I like is the pictures of all your cuts. They're so beautiful. The cuts are beautiful. But I would like to see the picture of Cousin Bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy. You know, he didn't have many pictures taken of himself.
Usually photographers are like that.
Yeah,
They'd rather stay behind the camera.
I know, it's hard for me to get Richard to be in the, he's always, no, I'll take them, you know. Yeah, that's a good point, though. But I know I don't have any pictures of him, but, oh well. Anyway, hello, Jane. Did I pronounce your name halfway
did.
decently? I do
Yes.
practice it. I'll tell you, I play Scrabble and I stop for a break and I go, Castaiola. I figure, I liked your email, which is your, I guess, maiden name. That one
Yes.
just rolls off my tongue.
Yes,
But
Marone.
well, I didn't want to put it on if you
Right.
didn't want it on.
No,
But
it's okay.
no, I'll get to it. Now that you're a brand new member of No Limits Toastmasters, now you're one of us, so I do have to keep practicing it until you don't cringe every time I have to say your name. But that's all right. When I got married, it was Okason, Okastine, Okastone. They thought I was Japanese. They thought I was Jewish. They thought, and I said, it's Okason. He's fairly Swedish. So I went through that, and I'm sorry that you're going through it.
No,
but
it's not a problem
it's
at
a mental
all.
blockage. When you get to a certain age, it just doesn't roll off the tongue.
tongue very easily.
Anyway, you're evaluating Cindy's speech, and I may put her back on to do another evaluation when you wear one of your costumes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think she'd really,
She'd like that.
she'd enjoy it. Yeah. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you. Cindy, I loved this topic, Dr. Seuss. But then I want to say, who doesn't love Dr. Seuss? Dr. Seuss has something for all of us. And I loved hearing about Dr. Seuss. I loved hearing the history. So when I was so happy when I evaluated this speech because I felt like I was already involved. The speaker, Cindy, definitely defined the scope of her speech by breaking the speech up into the history of Dr. Seuss and then some of his works and some of the works he did for adults. And I enjoyed hearing that. I did not know those stories. The topic was definitely narrow enough to fit in the time allotted. The way Cindy broke it up, it was the perfect amount of time. And of course, Cindy, being an effective speaker as she is, was very effective in drawing in the experts about explaining the history of Dr. Seuss. And was the speech interesting to the audience? Of course it was. Very interesting to the audience. I was very interested. And how could the speaker have built a greater interest? By reading a little bit from the books. So, thank you very much. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jane. Thank you. And now we have Sue is going to evaluate young John. I hope you liked what he did. We'll understand it now, right?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Viewing audience at home, people in the studio here. John, what a wonderful icebreaker. You had my attention at the beginning with that title, Go Blank Yourself. So I was really curious to hear about the reveal and to find out what it was. For an icebreaker, I think you did a very nice job, beginning with a nice, slow pace, nice smile, focusing on the camera, and then telling us a little bit about yourself, how you were a lifelong learner, and the way you wanted to describe yourself was passion. And then you revealed a little bit about yourself, that you wanted us to know that you were a hiker, a backpacker, a camper, a little bit of an intellectual nerd, and then more with the family relationships, son, father, husband. And then you talked about your role as a dad, bringing your daughter into the grocery store and how much that meant to you. One of the things I thought you could have done a little bit better is practice a little bit more, because to me there seemed to be an awkward pause, and then there was a little bit of talk with Fran at the head table where I think you wanted to say a little bit more in your speech. So going forward, to work on your next speech is definitely practice a little bit more so you'll be more comfortable and confident when you present. I would also work on your hand gestures. They were up here a bit and focused in this position. You did separate them a bit, but overall, work on your gestures, practice, and your next speeches will be much more effective. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sue. And now we're moving on to John is evaluating Lucy's speech about the meaning of Christmas. John?
Thank you, Fran. Thank you, studio audience and viewers at home. And thank you, Lucy, for that wonderful story about the meaning of Christmas. I really appreciated hearing you talk about the true meaning of Christmas, the original meaning of Christmas, and offering us the comparison with our practical experience around Christmas as is typical. I felt that the plot to your story was pretty clear. You compared and contrasted the experiences of Christmas with the actual meaning of Christmas. The degree that you brought the story to climax, I thought, was pretty well developed through the final reveal at the end of the real meaning of Christmas with the brief story of Jesus in Bethlehem on December 25th. I appreciated the way you developed your characters, the family and the spoiled children and all those. I felt I did gain a greater insight to Christmas, or perhaps somebody else could have if they weren't already familiar with the original meaning of Christmas. Something I think you could have done a little bit better, perhaps, was spend a little bit more time on the original story of Jesus' birth, since that, I suppose, was the meaning, to bring that story of the original meaning of Christmas to life. But overall, I felt your speech was very engaging and interesting. Thank you, Lucy.
And thank you very much, John. And now Joan will come and evaluate Paul's speech, please, Joan. Did you buy your black patch yet? Please turn off the lights.
After what he's told us, I hope I never have to. They want to know the strong points. He's like a soldier in our group. He's been here forever. He's always done a great job, and he did so today as well. They want to know how the audience got to know him. We learned about a phase in his life, which is enough to talk about, because after doing dozens of icebreakers myself, I find myself doing the same thing, focusing on a phase of my life, because people know enough about me. I like what he said about the three rights in order to make, because he made me think about a joke I heard long ago, which is true. 2 wrongs don't make a right, but 3 lefts do. So he brought that joke back to mind by picking on his own faults. So you do what you've got to do. Yes, he was well prepared. Yes, he spoke clearly and audibly. He had an opening, body, and conclusion. He had no notes. And they ask, what could he have done differently? And I don't really say he could have done this differently, because he got the laugh when he repeated himself the second time. I heard just as much laughter as the first time. And that's only called reiterating, bringing out the strong points in your speech. Sometimes people will speak about 3 things at the end just to remind you who they are. But he did that during the speech, which is fine. And what I liked was he has a great sense of humor. No matter what Paul goes through, storm, war, he's been in that classification too with the military. He's gone through a lot. So no matter what, he always has a sense of humor. I like when he started out, I am who you see. And then he said, I'm here on time because I left last night. That wasn't even a joke, but the truth behind it is it made us laugh. And then he talked about, ladies, open the door for me now. So I have to tell you, I had so much joy listening to the speech, and I can't wait to hear his next one. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joan. And now we're going into table topics. And let's get this on. Make it very short answers, please. I'm watching the clock. Sue, name something you gave control over to your spouse when you got married. Sue
Something I
Brooks.
gave, oh, wow. Something I gave control over to my spouse actually was the bill paying. We were talking about who was paying bills. I would write bills out. He would say, well, why just pay this one in full? We could have just paid part of it. So I was like, okay, well, you want to pay the bills? That's fine. So that was one of the things that Ken took over when we got married, the bill paying, to help us manage our finances more effectively, to make the most of what we have. Madam
Very, very
Toastmaster.
good. I figured you'd come up with a good answer. Thank you, Sue. Joan? Oh, you had to walk again. Joan, what was the best? I got this from one of our club members, so don't shoot me. What was the best or worst thing about being a twin? Joan Maurizio.
I don't know why I have to think of the negative first. Anyway, the nice thing was we didn't get mixed up like identical twins do. That was the guy, and I was the gal. I think I had a lot of trouble because we were in the same grade at school all the time, and teachers were always saying, tell your mother this, tell your mother that, and I got tired of it, and that's why I'm glad I wound up in a different high school. I went to an all-girls school, Maxwell Vocational, and he went to Jefferson High School, which was both. But I didn't get to hear that, oh, tell your mother he did this today, tell your mother. And I hate tattling. I don't like. Anyway.
Okay, Joan. Thank you very much. And now, Jane, if you'll come up. Where's Jane? I can't see a thing back there.